Okay, so I don't know if we went to the moon or not. No being the operative word. I just think there is a lot of red flags in the story that we are told. And I put this video together in order to, you know, just sort of string my thoughts along, my suspicions, and then kind of go from there. Okay, first let's start with what is the ISS made of? As you can see, it is made of titanium, Kevlar, and steel. The next question to ask is, where exactly does the ISS fly? Now, it is said that they fly in the ionosphere, which is essentially the lower level of the thermosphere, which at 400 degrees Fahrenheit makes sense to keep the ISS within the ionosphere. Anything higher than that, and things start to get a bit dicey. Now, the exosphere doesn't get quite as hot as the thermosphere, but it has been known to reach temperatures of at least 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's above the thermosphere. Now, let's take into consideration the melting points of Kevlar, steel, and titanium. As you can see, this is probably why the International Space Station stays within the ionosphere, where it doesn't get warmer than 440 degrees, because anything warmer than that and the space station will begin to fall apart. So they stay at the lower end of the thermosphere in the ionosphere. Now let's take a look back at Apollo 11 spacecraft, which was built in the 1960s, and see what they were made of. It was made out of aluminum alloy, stainless steel, fiberglass, and epoxy resin. As you can see, 1300 degrees Fahrenheit, 1200 degrees Fahrenheit, 2800 degrees Fahrenheit, and 600 degrees Fahrenheit are much lower than the 4500 degrees Fahrenheit at the thermosphere, which is a higher height or higher altitude than where the International Space Station, which is much more technologically advanced than Apollo 11 ever was, is said to be. Now keep in mind that Apollo 11 would have had to go through the thermosphere and through the exosphere and through a radiation belt while being made up, I can't even say what I'm saying, while being made of weaker materials than our International Space Station is presently. And they want us to believe that we no longer possess the technology to go to the moon. I'm not the one saying it. Here is a clip.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
Right, so the technology that you see, the pictures that you see of Apollo 11 somehow is less technologically advanced than what we have going on in the International Space Station right now in 2023. Compared to 1969, right? And they keep claiming that they can't get past low Earth orbit. NASA and their astronauts and the president have repeatedly stated that we cannot go past low Earth orbit. So now what you're asking is, well, what is low Earth orbit? Low Earth orbit is only about 1,200 miles from Earth. So within that space of Earth and 1,200 miles. Now, if you're wondering where the moon is about 200,000 miles away from the Earth, approximately. So astronauts' presidents are repeatedly stating that we can't get past low Earth orbit. And yet the moon is 200,000 miles past low Earth orbit, while they're also simultaneously stating that the technology that was available in the 60s is somehow, you watching this video, is somehow less advanced than what we have going now. And we're just supposed to believe this. Here's another clip.
This next-generation spacecraft will enable America to explore beyond low Earth orbit.
We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go.
The kinds of technologies that we're testing out on space station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit.
Early in the next decade,
A set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
Is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to.
Right, so do with that information what you will. Here is another clip by Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I'll just let the clip speak for itself. Pay attention.
Tell you a couple things. Earth. NASA says we go into space by launching into Earth orbit. Do you know how high above Earth the space station orbits? No, you don't know. I'll tell you. 3/8 of an inch. And we tell ourselves that that's space. Excuse me, that's just driving around the block. Right? And that dude who jumped out of a balloon, oh, the edge of space jump. On this, if the Earth were this size, it'd be 1/16 of an inch above the surface. That's where he jumped. Right there. See that? No, you can't see it because it's a 16th of an inch. So, on this scale, where's the moon? It's 30 feet away. It's not in this office. It's 3 offices down. On this scale, where is Mars? It's a mile away. Where is the nearest star system? Forget it. So if an alien traversed that distance, and all we're doing is driving around the block, they're more advanced than we are. And by the way, Hawking is all worried that aliens might suck our brains out. That concern comes from the fact that when any of us explored the world with high technology ships and came upon a civilization less advanced, it was bad for the less advanced civilization. They either were completely wiped out or subjugated or enslaved or whatever. So I think his fear about aliens is a reflection of his actual knowledge about humans, how humans treat each other.
So I actually left that last part in there about how humans treat each other and other humans discovering lesser advanced civilizations with their more advanced spaceships, because I think that it applies to what we think of as aliens. I don't think they're coming from outer space. I think they're coming from other lands right here on Earth. But that's another conversation, another video. I just thought that was very interesting commentary. But overall, as you keep seeing, we can't get past low Earth orbit. That is what they keep saying. And they also keep saying that we no longer have the technology to go to the moon, which is an obvious lie. We never had the technology to go to the moon. With the technology that we have even now, we're having issues just launching satellites past a certain point. Case in point, look at Virgin. So there's a satellite launch technique that involved dropping rockets from the wings of Boeing 747 jets in attempts to essentially launch satellites. It's a new system. As you see, this is taken from Robin Hood Weekly newsletters. It says, Major L. In January, Virgin Orbit was poised to send the first satellites into orbit from UK soil. But the historic mission flopped after its rockets failed to reach low orbit, which led to the destruction of 9 small satellites for governments. Now it says for governments, but it's really us. That's our money. That's our taxpayers' money. I believe it's $140 million that went up in smoke. And they were just trying to reach low orbit using technology that we have today. Here's another clip. As you can see here, what they're attempting to do is to launch small satellites at lower orbits. So right now, once again, we are presently struggling to get our technology, our satellites, our space station, our spaceships, and human beings past low Earth orbit. But somehow in the 1960s, we were able to do it at our first attempt with no issues, using a spacecraft that had weaker materials, or that was made of weaker materials than what our present spacecrafts are made of. And our present spacecrafts don't stay or don't move past a particular level or layer of the atmosphere. We're having issues just launching unmanned satellites into a particular orbit. We're having issues launching unmanned satellites. We have to use Boeing jets to launch satellites within low orbit. And we're actually essentially stopping or sort of being forced to stay in a particular orbit. And somehow in the 1960s, in a world without cell phones, without Zooms, without AIs, without satellite television, without satellites that we see now, without all of the technology that has occurred since the 1960s, they were able to do it on their first go, using crafts with weaker materials than ISS now. And I'm supposed to just believe that. I'm sorry, but I don't believe that. And this is not a flat earth thing. I'm not a flat earther. I have said on several episodes of the podcast that the shape of this planet does not matter. If we are in a simulation, then it literally doesn't matter if the earth is flat or if it's round or if it's oblate or if it's hollow. It's just part of the game. I think there's bigger things to worry about. The point of this video is just using common sense and something as simple as temperature combined together. You want me to believe that Apollo 11 went further than our present spacecrafts can go. Left the thermosphere, left the exosphere, went 238,000 miles away. Did you see pictures of this craft? It went 230,000 miles away. I'm supposed to believe that. And came back. Left and came back. Right? Nothing happened to the astronauts, by the way. Everybody's talking about radiation. Nobody's really focusing on the heat. That thing said 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Nothing that I looked up about what the materials the heat shield was made of said anything about how it protects the astronauts. I'm not buying it. Not just radiation, heat. 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit at the lower end, plus radiation, and you see with your eyes what they claimed left and also came back. I'm sorry, but I don't buy it. Also, real quick, watch this.
Oh yeah, I can do that. Watch this. Oh yeah, I can do that. Oh yeah, I can do that. Oh yeah, I can do that. Watch this. Can everybody float around for it? That was really cool, Chris.
In this scene, Chris Hadfield bends down in order to adjust something, and you can see on the back of his shirt a couple of upticks on either side where you would expect wires to come in on either side of that harness in order to support it. Of course, they've computer graphicked out the supporting wires. You can't actually see them.